There's a human rights crisis happening right now in Detroit. It's a crisis about water, a basic human right. But in the financially bankrupt city of Detroit, half the city, mostly low-income residents, are having their water shut off. 3 months ago, the water department threatened it would shut off service to more than 150,000 customers who haven't paid their bills. Now, they're following through. City residents have seen their water rates more than double over the past decade. Just as the city's poverty rate has been rising to near 40%, thousands are without water to drink. They can't cook, can't bathe, or even flush the toilet. And now activists are taking action. Several groups just filed a report with the United Nations Commission for Human Rights to intervene and restore services immediately. Joining me now is Maureen Taylor, the chairperson of the Michigan Welfare Rights Organization, a group working to help low-income people deal with the current water crisis in Detroit. Thank you for being here, Maureen.
How wonderful to see you again, Reverend.
You know, you're dealing directly with the people who are losing access to water. What are people telling you, Maureen?
Well, Reverend, mostly people want to know what happened and how this happened, and we're very good at explaining our history. Let me just take a second to set it up for you. At one time, Detroit had somewhere around 1.4, 1.5 million residents. We are now down to about 715,000. What happened? That's what the question is. We had a Dodge Main, we had a Chevrolet Gear and Axle, we had a Huber Avenue Foundry, Lynch Road Assembly, we had a Rouge complex where the late great General Baker used to work. And it was a time when at the Ford Rouge complex, Reverend, there were 100,000 workers that were building cars that started at the front and drove off the line. Now, today, at the Rouge complex, you have less than 9,000 workers, making 2 or 3 times as many. What happened, Reverend? And what the question is when people ask us, technology that used to enhance labor now has replaced it. Robots, R2-D2, that's who's on the line now. 400,000 manufacturing jobs disappeared.
So the jobs disappeared, people struggling to pay their bills, and in the midst of it, they cut their water off for being 2-3 months late with their water bill. And once the water is shut off, it's nearly impossible to get it turned back on. According to the report, quote, even when people make efforts to pay a portion of their water bill, the water department will not turn their water back on unless they pay 30 cents per gallon of the amount owing, which in many cases is thousands of dollars. I mean, how do they expect to get out of this situation, the people that are in them?
Reverend, it's scandalous. Right now, they're looking at 3,000 water shutoffs a month, and they've instituted this starting right around February. The people at the water department say that's not that bad. Well, it is that bad. When you turn off 3,000 waters every month at residential communities, it's outrageous. It's demonic.
Wow.
You cannot manage it because what they want is a percentage of the bill. And so many people that are left in the city of Detroit, we have minimum and maximum wage opportunities and minimum and less than minimum wage jobs. It's a different circumstance. So our unenlightened politicians, and you know, I heard you mention a bankrupt city. We're not a bankrupt city. We're living in a city that is being bankrupt by banks and their hoochie mama girlfriends that we call corporations. We're not bankrupt. This is the arsenal of democracy, Reverend.
All right.
Water is life. You can't take water away from people unless you assume that you want people to die. And that's what's going on here. There's an entire gentrification of what's going on in the city.
But
this is being orchestrated by 1, 2, 3.
It's only getting worse, Maureen. Let me point out a few things. I want the national public to understand this. Just last week, the Detroit City Council approved an almost 9% hike in the water rates. The average monthly water bill in Detroit is now $75. Compare that to the national average, which is only $40. I mean, how do people pay these increases? The method of water department is using is only hurting people's chances. The report says that as a cost-cutting measure, the water department stopped sending bills. It then installed smart meters that read retroactively, so many families are hit with bills for thousands of dollars, and many of those bills were from former tenants, including water bills from nearby abandoned housing. This is crazy.
Doesn't matter where they come from. You have 30 days in which to pay them. Doesn't matter where the bills come from. You have a 30-day window of opportunity to be able to manage. And I'm telling you, Reverend, all of this is being orchestrated from 123 Koch Brothers Boulevard. All of this is coming. Where, again, apparently the 1% have decided that poor people, regular working people have too much money. Rich people don't have enough. And the way we interpret it, the cost of living is going up and the chances of living is going down.
Well,
this is a demonic and a horrible circumstance.
Without water, you absolutely seem to me to be right. And we're going to stay all over this story. This is a human rights issue. Maureen Taylor, thank you. And thank you for the great work you do every day and for your time tonight.
Thank you very much.
Stay ahead.